Today's topic of discussion is road rules. So there's a lot of youngsters in today's society who grew up in poor type areas and in violent areas, and we're going to be discussing some key rules to abide by. So when I was younger, I grew up in an area in northwest London called Harlesden. Now Harlesden was effectively the gun crime capital in the whole of London and the UK. It was the most violent area in London, so in the 1990s and 2000s. So we're going to be discussing some key points and key rules to abide by, and that way there you're going to be able to survive in these kind of areas, and then you're going to be able to get multiple women as well. So first point is no attention. So you do not want to be that type of guy who is getting all of this attention on you. So a lot of guys, what they're doing is they're posting all of this content online. So let's say it's materialistic things, and they are getting a lot of attention from that. So you become a target in these kind of areas here. So when I grew up, right, so I grew up in the social media era, but then at the same time in areas like Harlesden, a lot of people weren't using social media as well. So a lot of the incidents that would be happening, they weren't recorded on the camera, but we would be seeing them happening. So a lot of the guys who are getting into altercations, getting into situations, is because these guys here were bringing a lot of attention on themselves. In these kind of areas here, in these poor areas here, these violent type areas, you need to have little to no attention on you. You need to literally go about your business, go home, work on your purpose, go to work, and just go to school and do what you need to do. Do not be that type of guy who's just hanging out on the streets, trying to speak to other guys, trying to meet up with your friendship groups and all this nonsense. Like certain times, yeah, meet up with your friends like once in a while and make sure it's purpose related. Don't be that type of guy who's just like hanging out on the block, you know, on your estate, and then you're just wasting time. These guys are what they're going to do is they're going to end up taking your time away from you, and then you're going to get involved in certain situations that you don't even mean to get involved in. So when you have no attention on you, you are less likely to get into altercations and in situations. I see so many guys complaining in these kind of areas here, in these violent type areas, that, oh yeah, you know, I'm always getting into altercations, I'm always getting into problems. It's because you idiots are going out and just wasting time on the block, wasting time in your area, and you're just outside chilling the whole time, and you're around guys who are loser type guys, and these guys here are bringing all their attention on themselves. So I grew up around certain guys, right, serious guys. They wouldn't be bringing attention on themselves. They'd be doing certain activities, right, so you know, illegal activities, but they would be not bringing attention on themselves. So the guys who were bringing no attention to themselves, these guys here were smart. The ones who were not smart, they were bringing all their attention onto themselves, and they were being so loud that people ended up having more altercations with them. So there's that saying, isn't it? The loudest one in the room is always the weakest one in the room, and that is so true. So a lot of the guys who are trying to seek attention from other guys, they are insecure within themselves, and they do not think with their brain, they're thinking with their emotions. So that's that point. Next point is no flexing. So when it comes to being in these kind of areas here, I learned from a young age that you shouldn't be wearing designer clothing. You shouldn't be trying to flex with your designer clothing, because you become a target. So when you become a target, there's going to be more altercations that are happening, and it doesn't matter who you are. So it can be the baddest guy in the area. So certain guys who were like really bad guys in the area, so in Harlesden there were certain guys who are bad mans. These guys here ended up getting into more altercations, and then they're going to have to, you know, deal with it. So the guys who were actually smart and the ones who were actually of brain, right, they would have, let's say, if they got their materialistic things that they want to wear. So certain times, obviously, people want to wear, you know, jewelry, and then, you know, so certain guys, what they'll have is they'll have, like, let's say, Versace signature, they've got the jewels, and they've got the multiple women. That would only be on certain special occasions. It wouldn't be on a regular day-to-day thing. They wouldn't be dripped out in all this designer clothing. Like you see in this music videos, these guys have got all this designer clothing on. People don't wear that in these kind of areas here on a day-to-day basis, because they know straight away they're just going to get mugged. That's what's going to happen. They're going to get robbed. So guys who are actually of brain, and guys who have grown up around serious guys, they know full well they're not flexing, yeah, in these kind of areas here, and they know full well that right there, yeah, if you start to flex, yeah, you're going to become a target then, and then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that. So there's been many guys who have been tried to flexing in these kind of areas here, and then they either just get run out of the area, so they get into so much problems that other guys want them and try and take from them, that they have no other choice but to leave the area. And there's been other guys, right, where when they're wearing, let's say, all these materialistic things, these guys, they give the wrong impression to other people as well, because it shows that this guy here is not secure within himself. A guy who's secure within himself, he knows full well that he's going to be not flexing with these jewels. So your jewels and your outfit and your car doesn't make you as a man. So this is why it's so important to develop your character and develop who you are as a person, because when you don't flex with your external, women are going to see that and they're going to be like, oh yeah, this guy here is of value, and he values within himself. The value is the internal. So the guys who are flexing, right, with all these materialistic things, they're attracting low quality women, and these low quality women are not women who are going to provide value to you. They're going to be taking value away from you, and they're going to be extracting as much value as they can from you. So that's important, guys. You guys need to be them type of guys who are not flexing with your external. Do not flex with your money, status, looks, you know, cars and all these kind of things there. You need to actually be that type of guy who's confident within himself, and he's somebody who is of value. So that's that point. And then the next point is speak less. So guys who you're seeing right now on social media, they love to just like chit chat all day. They love to talk, you know, all these other influencers, you know, they're flexing with all their materialistic things. I'd like to see any of them come into these kind of areas here. So come into like Harlesden and all these kind of areas here, yeah, and they'll see what happens. They'll bring so much attention onto themselves that they end up just getting robbed. That's what happens. So there's certain guys, right, who are even like serious guys, like rappers. So this guy, his name was a rapper, his name's DVs, yeah, so Devious. Yeah, he got like, I don't know, like 23 years in prison or something like that, yeah. He came into Harlesden, yeah, and then he must have got robbed one time, and there was another time where he must have come into, I think it was like Unistudents, yeah, and then he got robbed there as well. So he went to St. Raphael's as well. He ended up getting robbed there as well. This guy is a serious guy. Like, people know his reputation on the streets. He's not like an amateur type guy. He's like a rapper. His street cred is there, and then he's also an exceptional rapper. But guys like him were still getting targeted. So it just shows you it doesn't matter how bad you are, you need to be that guy who's actually just focused on his purpose and his mission. So speak less and then do more in life. Don't be that type of guy who's just always chit-chatting away and people are just seeing, oh yeah, does this guy actually do stuff? So a lot of guys will even take the piss out of that guy. They'll be like, oh, this guy just loves talking. But when it comes to actually taking action, he doesn't take action in life. So that's why it's so important. So whatever goals and objectives you have in life, work on them and actually do them. Don't be that type of guy who's telling his friends, his family, and then all these people, and then these people here are seeing, oh yeah, is this guy going to be able to hit them? And then you're just going to get with negativity. That's what happens with people in these kind of areas here. These people here in these areas are so negative. They don't have a vision to get out of the area and to actually explore other avenues, and they're around other low quality women. So that's what it is. These other low quality women in these kind of areas here, in these poorer areas, they're going to be attracted to all the materialistic things. So that's what it is, yeah. So speak less and do more. Next point after that is mind over emotions. So guys who are in these kind of areas here, who have grown up in these kind of areas here, who have actually been around serious guys, they're always thinking with their mind. They're doing as much as they can with their brain. They're not being led by their emotions. Guys who are emotionally unstable, guys who are not emotionally intelligent, guys who are emotionally weak, they are getting into altercations, they are lashing out. So a lot of these guys in these areas here, what they're doing is they're getting into altercations on the streets because they stepped on, let's say, for example, the trainer. So if they stepped on the trainer and be like, oh yeah, you stepped on my trainer, da da da, and then before you know it, he's ended up pulling out a knife on him, and then he's ended up stabbing him, or he's trying to rob his phone, or some sort of petty type behavior, or there was some sort of argument that took place, and then he's like, okay, now I'm gonna end up trying to kill this guy now. This is what's happening, these guys here, because they're thinking with their emotions, not thinking with their brain. If they were actually thinking with their logical brain, they'd be like, oh, okay, why am I getting into this altercation? Why am I going to try and kill this guy? What, because he's got a certain outfit on, or because he's got a certain jewelry on, or I want to take that, or I want to take his watch or his phone or something like that, something silly. It makes no sense. These people are just on low frequency. So any guys who you're seeing who are not thinking with their emotions, and they're not thinking with their brain, yeah, these kind of guys here, you need to avoid them, because them kind of guys there, they're thinking with their emotions, yeah, and they're not thinking with their brain, that when they get into a situation, they're going to end up dragging you guys into it. So that's really important. You guys need to stay well clear away from them kind of guys there. So that's what I learned from growing up in these kind of areas here. I knew full well that guys who are actually using their brain and guys who are actually using their emotions. And a lot of these guys in these, hood type areas are thinking with their emotions. And then they're attracting low quality women as well. So these low quality women think with their emotions anyway. So they're attracting these low quality women. So don't be that type of guy who's thinking, oh yeah, some of these hood boys, they're getting a lot of these women. They're getting these low quality women. These women here are not of value. Why would you want a woman who's low quality, and a woman who's for the streets, and a woman who is promiscuous? You don't want nothing to do with these kind of women here. You want the women who are actually of quality. And in that way there, that's going to create a healthy longevity relationship. It's not going to create a toxic type environment. And that's what happens in a lot of these poorer type areas. They've got toxic households. There's a bunch of them households here in these poorer type areas. They're all toxic, and they've got sick, individualistic, dirty thought processes. Their brains do not operate on a higher frequency. That's why a lot of them are still stuck in them kind of areas there. They're not doing anything progressive. They're not doing anything which is purpose driven. So that's what my content's here for. My content is here to help guys who have grown up in areas like myself, so Harlesden, and guys who are grown up in similar type environments, to make sure that these guys here can reach their full potential. It's not going to be where, these guys here, they don't have access to the information, because now we've got the internet. So we've got the internet to be able to access the information. So growing up in my time as well, so when I was growing up through social media, through, meeting people in real life, I didn't really have much access to role models, and actually seeing role models who have actually made it out of these kind of areas here, and who have actually done well, and have actually, gone about and actually made progression. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to help them kind of areas. I'm trying to help them kind of people in them poor areas. So just to wrap up, no attention. So in these kind of areas here, if you're still living in these poor type environments, in these hood type environments, you want to pretty much do not be that type of guy who's getting attention from all these people. You want to make sure to focus on your purpose, focus on your own family, and focus on working and actually providing value. Don't be that type of guy who's bringing all this unnecessary attention to himself, and you're posting all these stupid flipping photos and all these videos of all these materialistic things. So that's what the next point was about the no flexing. Don't be that type of guy who's flexing with the materialistic things. Be that type of guy who's got money stacked up. So certain guys who were serious, right, they'd have all the cash stacked up in their house. So even if they were doing illegal activities, they'd have the cash stacked up. The flipping notes are like wrapped up. Do you understand? And then they put it in the little box here. So a little safety box, and a certain time the people were doing, stashing it in the house and stuff like that. Don't be that guy who's just splurging on all these materialistic things, and then you're bringing more and more bad attention on you. So that bad attention right there is not going to do you any favors. And that attention there, instead of investing that, that's not investing. Instead of actually using that money on stupid materialistic junk here, you should be investing that money into yourself, into your own individualistic thought process, and actually developing yourself. And that right there will be able to yield more long-term results. And then by default, women are going to be attracted to that, because they see that this guy here is leading with his internal, and he's leading with his actual knowledge and his actual brain. He's not that guy who's leading with the superficial external stuff. That's why a lot of these rappers, they're flexing with all this materialistic junk, because these guys here are of lower frequency and they've sold themselves to the music industry as well. So that's why all these guys who are signed to all these labels, these guys have sold their souls. So don't look up to any of these guys. And then the next point after that was speak less and then do more. So speak less and do more. So in life, I always speak less and always actually carry about and actually do your business and work on your business, rather than being that guy who's just speaking all the time. And then the final point was mind over emotions. So you always want to think with your logical brain. Do not be that guy who is acting on impulse and acting on his emotions. So that's what a lot of women who are feminine. So feminine women, they don't act out and lash out. But the women who are like masculine type women, they're going to be acting out based off of their emotions, and they're going to be behaving toxically. And that's what a lot of guys in these kind of areas are doing as well. They're behaving toxically and they're behaving feminine. You know, a feminine guy behaves on his emotions. A masculine man is somebody who behaves on logic and reasoning. That's what that guy does. So that's wrapped up. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next videos.